So today is Father's Day. When my dad was still with us, he's been gone since 2008, when he was still with us, we used to celebrate Father's Day by allowing him to take us to lunch. And you laugh, but the truth is my father was happiest when his family was together, enjoying each other's company. There could be no greater gift to him in the world. Of course, it wasn't always like that. He was a Marine officer, he was in the military, and there were 4 of us kids, and we would travel a lot, especially in the summer, in those old-fashioned station wagons, you know? No seatbelts or anything, you know, traveling around the country, going to visit family, and I am sure that in those moments he would have given anything for some peace and quiet. But my parents are gone now, and I would give anything to be able to spend holidays with them again, Mother's Day and Father's Day. So the celebrations are particularly poignant to me these days. So it reminds me of a little essay, some of you may have heard this, about how our attitudes about our parents change. I don't know if you can see this from the back, but I am going to read it. When I was 4 years old, my daddy can do anything. When I was 5 years old, my daddy knows a whole lot. 6 years old, my dad is smarter than your dad. 8 years old, my dad doesn't know exactly everything. 10 years old, well, in the olden days when my dad grew up, things sure were different. 12 years old, oh, well, naturally, Dad doesn't know anything about that. He's too old to remember his childhood. 14 years old, don't pay any attention to my dad. He's so old-fashioned. 21 years old, him, oh my Lord, he's hopelessly out of date. 25 years old, Dad knows about it, but then he should. He's been around for so long. 30 years old, maybe we should ask Dad what he thinks. After all, he's had a lot of experience. 35 years old, I'm not doing a single thing until I talk to Dad. 40 years old, I wonder how Dad would have handled it. He was so wise. And 50 years old, I'd give anything if Dad were here so I could talk to him about it. Too bad I didn't appreciate how smart he was. I could have learned a lot from him. Yeah? So for Father's Day today, what I wanted to do was not only celebrate our dads, but also teach a little something about metaphysics and about the science of mind, because that's who we are. So what I came up with was this idea of love and law. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, taught us that God, Spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that all and everything, is both love and law, equally. Let me share with you what he said about this. He said, as we gain a broader viewpoint, we shall see that life must contain 2 fundamental characteristics. We shall see that there is an infinite spirit, love, operating through an infinite and immutable law. Love points the way. Law makes the way possible. Say that with me. Love points the way. Law makes the way possible. You're going to understand what I'm talking about here in just a little bit. There is, without question, ladies and gentlemen, a love, an energy of love that is forever surrounding us. It is indwelling us. It is acting through and as everything. It is love. That impulse of love is everything. This is the love of God that we always talk about. And yet, for God to be truly loving and truly, absolutely balanced in its love, it needs to operate through law. The law of cause and effect. The law of what goes around comes around. The law of for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Don't be afraid of the law. It's awesome once you understand it. Because the way that the law works for us in our lives is through our thought. In other words, our thought is cause, and the result of that thought is effect. Cause and effect. Is this making sense? By the way, I digress. Go see the movie Inside Out. Thank you! Inside Pixar's latest movie just came out. We went to see it yesterday. It teaches science of mind. You'll never have to take a class again if you go see this movie. Not really, you need to take classes. But anyway, because it teaches you how to apply it, but oh my gosh, it's so good. Anyway, now I go back. So, what's so interesting about the law, we're talking about love and law here, what's so interesting about the law is that the law of cause and effect does not make any judgments. It is 100% impartial. It responds and produces. It never questions. The problem is that we as the human race, we don't know that the law responds to our thoughts and gives us a corresponding effect. So for centuries, we've been saying that there's this power up here that is rewarding us if we've been good and punishing us if we've been bad. But when we know the truth, and I mean the truth with a capital T, that there is love and law at work in our lives, we realize that we are completely and totally participating in what happens in our lives. Woohoo! Yes? Yes? We determine what our experience is. There's no one to blame for how our lives are turning out, including our parents. And some of you may be wondering how we went from, oh, you've got a friend, lovely song, and oh, my dad, he was so cool, and you know, all this, to a talk about self-responsibility. I want you to think about this. Parenthood is like this concept of God being love and law. For most of us, even though we knew that our fathers loved us, it was our mothers that we went to for the unconditional love, for that nurturing that we needed. We knew as kids, no matter how naughty we were, okay, let me rephrase that and make it personal. I knew as a kid that no matter how naughty I was, or if I got hurt, it was my mom that I went to for that nurturing. How my dad would show he loved me, and I know he loved me, is he would clean my windshield. Right? That's how he would demonstrate his love. Now, I know what I'm saying about moms being the nurturers. I know that's not true for everybody. I know that. But historically and culturally speaking, moms are the nurturers, the healers, the ones that are ready with love. Dads, on the other hand, represent the law aspect. How many of us heard, just wait till your father gets home? Yeah, okay. Joseph Campbell, who was a great mystic and metaphysician, wrote this. He said, "Mother loves all her children, the stupid ones, the bright ones, the naughty ones, the good ones. It doesn't matter what their particular character is. The feminine represents the inclusive love for progeny." He goes on to say, "The father is more disciplinarian. He is associated much more with the social order and the social character. Mother gives birth to our nature, and father gives birth to our social character, how we are to function." Now, I don't know about you guys, but my dad was a stickler for self-responsibility and for doing the right thing. And those attributes were ingrained in us as kids, and it carried us through as adults. Now, I've shared with you all before that my moral compass in my 20s and teens and 20s was a little out of whack. You know, I made terrible choices. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I ran around like a fiend. My moral compass that my dad had instilled in me, but my moral compass was way off kilter for a few years. I was heading in directions even I can't believe sometimes I think about it. Right? But in the long run, even in spite of all that, I did know the difference between right and wrong. It had been instilled in me. I may have temporarily forgotten it, but I knew it. And fortunately, my moral compass, that which was going true north eventually brought me back to a life affirming, to a more positive direction. Because I did know the difference between right and wrong, between moral and immoral, between being responsible and irresponsible, because I had seen it modeled for me in my parents for years, for my entire life. And it's that aspect of doing the right thing, of knowing right and wrong, that is the essence of the law of cause and effect. Because when we do the right thing, in other words, think the right thoughts, we have results that we like. When we think the wrong things or do the wrong things, we have results that we don't like. It is the law. It is always corresponding to us. Is this making sense? Am I preaching to the choir? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
So the law is a mirror that reflects to us what we are putting out into the world and what we are receiving back, whether it's good or less good. The good news is that in the long run, good prevails. In the long run, it may, oh my gosh, the news this week, it's really, really hard to think and know that good prevails when we have incidences like what happened this week in Charleston, South Carolina. It's very hard to look at that and know that 9 beautiful spiritual souls lost their lives to a madman. And this is what I mean by good prevailing. If from that horrific incident something good comes out of it, and I realize here in Canada this is not the issue, but it is in the U.S. If by a madman being able to get a hold of a gun and shoot 9 innocent, loving people brings about a change in gun laws in the U.S., good prevails. Does that make sense? So that's what we need to know, is that eventually good will prevail in spite of those appearances, and that's because God is good. God is love. Here's what Ernest Holmes said. Since God is always in harmony with itself and knows only that which is good, then God thinks only that which is good. Since God thinks everything into being, there must be a perfect pattern at the center of everything. That's why when I was talking about the practitioners, we are spiritually perfect. We are spiritually whole, perfect, and complete, and we forget that sometimes. That's why our practitioners are trained to look through the BS, belief systems, to that pattern of perfection that is within each of us. So when we are in alignment with this good, we reap the results of it. When we are out of alignment, we reap those results as well. So the question is, how do we know that we're out of alignment? How do we know? Esther Hicks says, does it feel good? Do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. This is basically the same thing. You want to know how you're in alignment with good? When you're in alignment with spirit, are the things that you are doing, saying, and thinking life-affirming? Are they positive? Is it demonstrating the idea that God is love and it is at the center of everything? Are they joyful? Are they harmonious? Are they orderly? Are they loving to self and others? If so, if that's the pattern of your thinking, then what you are doing is saying and thinking things that are in alignment with good. But if your thoughts are hate-based, if they're ego-based, if they're about comparison or jealousy or are harming somebody, or if they're thoughts of lack or limitation, that is not in alignment. Yes?
Yes.
And that's what's going to show up in your life. Because of the law. The law doesn't go, oh gosh, he doesn't really mean that. Oh no, he doesn't really mean that hateful thought, or he doesn't really mean that finger that he gave to the guy on the freeway, or anything. Not that anybody here would ever do that. He doesn't mean it. The law doesn't do that. It doesn't choose. It is 100% impartial. It produces according to our thoughts and our choices. Yikes. A little bit. This is a different way of thinking, right? Because it causes us to ultimately be responsible for what's happening in our lives. And not everybody likes to be responsible. A lot of people still want to make it somebody else's fault, somebody else's responsibility. Many people are still waiting for that divine intervention to come in. But the beauty is, we're waiting for God to make it right. Yet the beauty is the law is making it right. The law makes it right by responding to who we are, what we think about, and what we are doing. It works automatically every time. It is the great equalizer. And you may be thinking, why on earth would I want to accept responsibility for my life? Why do I want to give up blame and take responsibility for my life? I'd rather stay in a place of ignorance and let it be other people's fault. Anybody cop to that? Yeah. You know what? Even I cop to it sometimes. Even I, and I've been in this teaching a long time, sometimes catch myself making it somebody else's fault, blaming somebody else for what's going on. It's an interesting place to be, but it is not a spiritually mature place to be. And we are here to be spiritually mature. As we grow, as we evolve, as we learn, it is natural for us to want to be responsible. Remember when you were a kid? All you wanted to do was be responsible for your own life, right? All you wanted, and have somebody else pay the bills. But you wanted to make your own decisions, right? It's natural to be responsible. Here's what Ernest Holmes says. It may seem strange that the law which now holds you in seeming bondage can easily give you freedom, but that is the truth. There cannot be two powers in the universe. There is only one power. Use it. Use it. You know how little kids will play one parent against the other? And if parents are of one mind, it doesn't work, right? Well, that's the same thing with us trying to play love against law. It doesn't work that way. Love and law are two aspects of the one mind. Of the one mind. So when we comply with love and we comply with law, when we use it, when we consciously choose those things that we're talking about, life affirming, and positive and loving and all that, when we consciously choose that, we are utilizing both love and law, and then we are drawing into our lives all those things that we say that we want. The happy relationship, the prosperity, the creativity, the good health, all that other kind of things. In other words, when we consciously use both love and law, we manifest the things that our dads wanted for us all along. So I want to share with you and close with a poem. It actually was adapted from the Khalil Gibran poem about Speak to Us of Our Children, if you remember this. But this is Speak to Us of Our Parents. Your parents are not your parents. They are the channels through which life recreated itself. You came through them, but not from them. And though they may still be with you, you do not belong to them. You may receive their love, but not their thoughts, for their thoughts are from their time. New thoughts must be generated within you now, for this time and this place. For life does not go backwards or become trapped in yesterday. You are the product of generation upon generation of humankind longing to give their children a better life than they had. You have done nothing by yourself, even though it may have seemed so. For the prayers and petitions of millions of mothers crying out to the infinite to bless and protect their children have been heaped upon you. And the pride and faith of millions of fathers in their offspring continues to inspire you at a deep cellular level. Don't let their prayers and faith be in vain. Receive with humble acceptance the blessing of the ancients, and then be sure to pass it on. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, and so it is.